Fijn dat jullie er allemaal zijn. Ja, vandaag zal het verder gaan over ons nieuwe merk Alta Labs. En ik geef graag het woord aan Julian.
Nou ja, inderdaad, namens mij ook allemaal van harte welkom bij deze webinar. Nou, zoals mijn collega Geert-Jan het inderdaad aangaf, willen we inderdaad ons nieuwe merk een beetje gaan introduceren. En daarbij hebben we inderdaad ook nog onze vrienden van Alta Labs erbij meegenomen om jullie inderdaad wat meer wegwijs te maken binnen de wereld van Alta Labs. Wat zij gaan doen, nou, ze hebben inderdaad zelf nog even een mooie presentatie gemaakt. En zij gaan zeg maar aan de hand van die presentatie gaan zij inderdaad het productportfolio even wat meer onder handen nemen. Dus ze zullen inderdaad wat meer specificaties meenemen en dit inderdaad ook even aan jullie vertellen. En uiteraard is het ook geen enkel probleem dat jullie ondertussen ook wat vragen stellen. Ik neem aan dat zij inderdaad ook die gelegenheid geven om jullie inderdaad wat vragen te laten stellen. Dus ja, treur niet om zeg maar je vragen die je hebt, om die inderdaad aan hun te stellen. En
Ja, en aan het einde is er ook nog een Q&A. Dus dan zal ook elke vraag beantwoord worden. Even goed om te weten, de webinar wordt ook opgenomen. Als het goed is zijn jullie erbij niet in beeld. En anders komt het in orde.
So I will, yes, Dylan, you can start.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, thanks everybody, and thanks for joining. We especially wanted to thank the WiMood team. I myself have actually known Krein and the WiMood team since I think 2016. So it's been a long time, and we're really grateful to them for putting this webinar on, and really excited to be working with them as our distributor for the Benelux region. After working with them for so long, right, it was just a natural fit for us to reach out to WiMood to represent Alta in the region. We recognize them as a value-added distributor, and they do a lot of good things to support you guys in the channel. So excited to be working with them, and excited to have the chance to introduce you guys to Alta Labs today. I'm Dallin Kaufman. We also have Philip Crawford on the call. Philip oversees the European region, is the director of business development for the EMEA region, and I'm the VP of business development for Alta Labs. So excited to be with you guys to introduce Alta Labs. Maybe just on a brief kind of personal note, I also wanted to tell you guys how much I love the Netherlands. I lived there for 3 years. And really miss it. And in fact, my kids and I will be celebrating Sinterklaas here in a few weeks. So we still try and maintain some of the things that we learned over there in the Netherlands. I won't try and embarrass anybody with my poor attempt to speak Dutch, though. But just know I'm happy to be with you guys this afternoon for you guys, and this morning for us. So I'll jump right in and talk about just give you guys a brief introduction to Alta Labs, and then I'm going to turn the time over to Philip to talk about some more of the exciting stuff, the features, and give you guys an intro and a live demo to our controller and our software. But Alta Labs, as you guys know, we're kind of the new player on the block, the new kid on the block. Our focus is really on making sure that we can play the role of being an innovator and a disruptor in the space. You know, I think there's been pretty much the same players in the market for the last 10, 15 years. And we felt like there was a need for some innovation and disruption, and some kind of gaps in the market that we felt like we could fill. I think what's important too to know about Alta Labs is that while we are new, we just launched in June. I think June is when WiMood first received our stock and started selling it in the region. But we are not inexperienced. We have been actually quietly behind the scenes working on these products now for a few years. And we've built a team of individuals that have a lot of experience in this space. If you look at our marketing team, to our sales team, you know, with Philip and I and others, to our management team, to our support team, and probably most importantly to our engineering team, all of these teams have ultimately decades of experience when you look at the members of our team in the networking space specifically, and in the IT space. And so we felt like we can provide that right combination of, like I said, being new and innovative, but also having a lot of experience in the space to develop products that are right for the market and meet some of the gaps that we were seeing. The other thing probably also to note in this space as well is so Alta Labs is a division of a parent company called Sound Vision Technologies, or SVT. And SVT has been around for 24 plus years in the market. More specifically, manufacturing audio products actually is the kind of the niche that SVT has been in for a period of time, and then we're branching out into the IT space, right? And with networking with Alta Labs and with this team that we built, as I mentioned, that have years and years of experience. So why Alta Labs? I just wanted to spend a few minutes. We want to spend a lot of time here in the slides. Like I said, I want to make sure we spend most of our time in the live demo and make sure we give you guys a chance to ask any questions you have. But I do want to just focus on briefly some of the key areas of focus for us as a brand. So I'll just start at the top here. Reliability is a big focus for us, especially for our CTO. We just wanted to make sure that anytime we produce a product or even come out with a kind of a software or firmware update, we want to make sure that it's ready to go. It's ready for the market. You guys don't feel like you're beta testers, right? That there's no bugs in the firmware, and that the products are just really reliable and solid. That's a big focus for us, and will continue to be a big focus for us moving forward. Is making sure that anything that we produce, you guys can be fully confident in. Performance, of course, is also extremely important to us. I don't want you just to take our word for it. We want to make sure you guys get some product to test for yourselves. I know WiMood has a great deal right now going on where you can get 2 of our access points and an 8-port switch, I think for €299, if I remember right. And that's a great opportunity to just get some product in your hands and test them out and get a feel for the performance. I'll show you here in a minute just briefly our community forum, and you can get a feel for what others are saying as well. But generally, the feedback that we're getting from the market is that customers are very, very happy and impressed with both the speed and the range that they're seeing from our products. In most cases, we're hearing that we're outperforming competition in those 2 areas. But like I said, we want to make sure you guys have the chance to test that out for yourself. Free training resources. I won't spend a bunch of time here, but if you check out our YouTube channel, you get a feel for what we're trying to produce in this space. We want to make sure that there's a lot of free video content out there on exactly how to do certain things in our controller and how to do different things with our products. So we'll continue to put a lot of free training resources. Eventually, we'll develop a more robust certified training program as well. But we want to continue to make sure there's always very good free training resources out there. Channel friendly. What I mean by that, right, is our focus as a brand is the installers like yourself. In fact, our focus is not e-tailers, for example. It's very much the installer. So we want to make sure that you guys are able to be successful with our products. And a big part of that, of course, is making sure that there's healthy margins built into the products for yourself as an installers. And also that there's a clear kind of MSRP structure, right, online. So our products will be found online through a few select e-tailers, but we always want to make sure that we're able to maintain, like I said, a stable MSRP price with healthy installer, trade pricing for you guys to where you can be successful. And you won't see us out there, competing with our own customers, with our own, we're not selling our products directly to end users ourselves. And then lastly, support. Support is a big focus for us. We want to make sure that you guys have access to us as a manufacturer. I already mentioned that WiMood does a great job with a kind of value-added approach. They should in many ways probably be your first line of defense if you have a support issue that comes up. As I mentioned, we don't have anybody in our team that speaks Dutch, but at least, like I said, I can make a very poor attempt at it. But I know WiMood can provide that local kind of, Dutch in your local time zone support. But if you ever need to contact us for any reason or reach out to us, we're available. We even have a phone number listed on our website where you can call in for free. Free phone support is something that or I should say phone support is something that generally most manufacturers will charge for. But we want to provide a very strong level of support, even down to, like I said, phone support. As of right now, that phone number is currently available on US working time zones, but eventually we'll work on scaling that to be available in Europe as well. With that, in fact, I want to just actually jump out of the slides for just a second. I mentioned our forum. I just want to give you guys a quick preview of what the forum looks like, and encourage all of you guys to jump on and participate if you guys haven't already. If you just go to forum.alta.inc, it's actually a great place to just get
Volgens mij heb Albert-Jan mij daar ook wel eens een keer over geïnformeerd.
It's a great way for you guys to get a feel for everything that I just talked about. A good place to get a feel for our support, right? Everything that's posted here gets responses. It's also a good way to get a feel for how in tune we want to be with in the market. One of the things, for example, that we've tried to do is just recognize any feature requests that come in. We read them, we respond to them, and we've already come out with a number of firmware updates that apply a lot of those requests that have come in. So we'll be very responsive to any requests that come in from you guys. The stories section is a good place, as I mentioned, to go to get a good feel for what others are saying about our products, what their experience has been with our performance, right? And everything else. So I just encourage you guys to jump onto our forum, create an account if you'd like, and start participating with us there, ask questions. It's a great place to go. Kind of come back though real quick to our slides for just a few more minutes, and then I want to, like I said, turn the time over to Philip to dive into our controller and talk about some more specific unique features of our products. So right now our portfolio is fairly small, 5 SKUs at the moment, right? 2 access points, 3 switches, but we'll be adding to that very, very quickly. I'll touch on our roadmap here in just a minute, but first I'll just briefly introduce our existing portfolio. So this is our AP6 Pro. It is a Wi-Fi 6 access point. One of the things that we think is important for customers to know about the Pro version specifically is it actually has some Wi-Fi 7 features built into it. We worked really closely with Qualcomm, our chipset provider, on these products. And Qualcomm actually decided they wanted to test out a Wi-Fi 7 feature on this Wi-Fi 6 access point. And so they built into this product, into the chipset, a support for a feature called 4K QAM or 496 QAM. This will be one of the actually premier features of Wi-Fi 7. Without going into a lot of detail, it allows for much higher wireless throughput capabilities. You can technically get up to 6.3 gigabits per second wirelessly. And so as Wi-Fi 7 continues to be to roll out in the near future, our AP6 Pro will already support one of the main features and be able to, like I said, have a much higher wireless throughput capabilities than others because of that feature that's built into the chipset. The AP6 Pro also has it's 4x4 multi-user MIMO on the 5 gigahertz band, 2x2 on the 2.4. And we do have a proprietary antenna design that we built into these products. As you notice, the design is unique. It's different than others in the market. It's not a square, it's not a circle. But the proprietary antenna design is also helped allow us to get a much stronger range and throughput capabilities than we're seeing with some of the competition. And then lastly, with the Pro version is IP54 rated, so it's not fully outdoor AP. We'll have that coming out next year. But if you have it underneath an overhang, right, or somewhat protected from the elements, you can still put it in an outdoor environment. This is our AP6. It's very similar to the Pro version. In fact, the dimensions are exactly the same. The main differences, though, are it's not IP54 rated. It doesn't have that 496 QAM feature that we talked about, and it's a 2x2 access point on both bands. This is our 24-port switch. Rack mountable, as you can see, it's got 16 of the ports are PoE plus, and it's got a 240 watt PoE budget. You can see one of the things we really wanted to do is make sure that we created a design that allowed it to run both cool and also quiet. So it does have a few fans on it, but the fans run very, very quiet. And then you can see there's a lot of custom designed, passive cooling that's going on. One of the things we designed differently is typically those SFP ports are stacked on top of each other. But we learned that that's one of the greatest heat producers, those SFP ports. In this case, it's SFP plus. Actually, it's 10 gigabit capabilities on this 24 port. But rather than stack them on top of each other, we put them side by side and then put a vent above each one to allow for much stronger cooling. And then all of our products, both the switches and access points, do have Bluetooth functionality built into them. So that it's a very easy adoption process, a very easy process to get them added into our controller. This is our 16 port. 8 of the ports are PoE plus, and it has 120 PoE budget. And then lastly, this is our 8 port switch. 4 of the ports are PoE plus, and it has 60 watts of PoE budget. So, and then lastly, like I said, I'll just give you guys just a quick overview of what's coming down the line, right? Because we obviously don't want to stop there. We want to have a very robust, full portfolio of products and have a lot of plans for the future of some unique products we'll add. But at least as far as what's coming initially, in the next couple of months, we'll have probably around the March, April timeframe. So Q1 of next year, we'll have a local premise-based controller option. Right now, our products are 100% cloud-based. We think there's a lot of advantages to that, but we also recognize there's definitely times where a local premise-based controller option is needed, and so we'll have a solution there for you for everyone in a few months. We'll also have a router out. That'll probably be more in Q2. So the first half of next year, we'll have a firewall router option. And then I already mentioned we'll have an outdoor access point, a fully outdoor access point, probably IP68 rating, and that'll be out in also Q1, maybe Q2, probably March, April time period. Will be the outdoor access point. We're also working on a 48 port switch and a Wi-Fi 7 access point as well. So all of those are in the works, along with other products as well. But those are the ones that I mentioned. Those 5 will for sure be out next year. And then we'll continue to add and potentially have some others out next year as well, and in the coming years to come. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here and turn the time back over to Philip and let him go from there.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Excuse me. So we did really quickly just get a question from Gert in the chat, asking if the controller will be hardware only or will it be able to be installed. Currently, we're looking at hardware only, but we are toying around with the idea of allowing it to be installed. Excuse me. That's still a question that's kind of up in the air. But kind of, yeah, the main plan right now is to be hardware.
Sorry to cut you off, Philip. I will mention though, we will have, I think we've decided for sure we will have a beta version at least of a self-hosted controller option. So if you're interested in being part of that beta program, definitely reach out to us, and we'll have more details in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Dom.
Yep.
I'm just going to go ahead now and share my screen, and then we'll go over the controller. I'm excited to show you the controller today. Really quickly before we get started, just wanted to say thank you for being here. Especially as an installer, we recognize that a lot of you who are on the call today are taking time out of your workday. You're taking time out of projects. So we appreciate you being here, and hopefully you can find some value in this. This is the main login page to Alta Labs. Excuse me, I apologize for that. So currently you're able to do single sign-on with Google or with Apple. We will be adding an option there for Microsoft Teams as well. We know that's a big request for that coming from the EU right now. And so a lot of Microsoft Teams users, especially in the Netherlands as well. So in the future, that will be an option right down here. Other than that, If you would like to, you're able to just create an account, which is your email, password, and that's pretty much all the information that we store here in the cloud for your verification. Today, I'm just going to do single sign-on with my Google account. So it's nice and simple. And once we log in, that brings us to the dashboard. The dashboard has some historical data right here that you can see. Currently, we're in real time. It is 8:25 in the morning here in the US, so you're going to be able to actually see some work traffic going on as well. Most people are getting into the office between 8 and 9. This is our actual headquarters, so you'll be able to see some real traffic. If we want to go back, we can show some 1 hour view, a 2-day view, and a 2-month view. So you're able to really see the usage and track it throughout a pretty good amount of time there. When we're in real time, one thing that's really important to note, and this isn't just here in the dashboard, but throughout the whole controller even later, when we say real time, it's actually real time. There's not a 5-minute or a 10-minute delay there. So that's something that's really important to note. If we do have some devices that are out of date, we'll get a pop-up right here letting us know. That way we can make some updates if we need to. When we scroll down here to the top active devices, this just lets us know, which devices have the most activity on them currently. And one thing to note on the no name, that is actually, that's something that we've seen a lot more. And so we started digging into that and we realized that that's actually something that Apple has been doing. So that's not just something on Alta. Whether using Alta or Ruckus or any other brand, really, you'll actually be seeing these no names. Sometimes Apple devices aren't verifying. So if you do see that pop up, unfortunately, that's just something that we're going to have to live with for the next little bit across any platform. Top active applications, oftentimes up here in the #1 spot is YouTube, as it is today. Landon, our marketing guy, is really active on YouTube, making sure that we have Alta videos out. So we see a lot of traffic there. And then the top active network devices, here's our 24-port switch, and you can kind of see some of what's going on here. It'll let you know the traffic currently, as well as the system load and memory usage there. So a lot of information just on this main dashboard right here. Just helps you to get kind of a really good idea of what's going on at a really quick glance. We'll hop into the network now. And this is an exciting screen. There's a lot of information here. You're able to filter this and kind of remove some things if you'd like to. For the purpose of the demo, we like to leave it all there so you can really see what it's capable of. Over here, we have listed the actual device itself. And if you mouse over it, it'll show you switch 24, AP6, and then you'll see down here with this little purple Pro, that's the AP6 Pro. Down here it's a 16-port, so you can get a lot of information right there on which the device is. Here you have the name, the IP. One interesting thing that we did with the load is this is all color coded, so you can see some flashing yellow here. You see some red up here. This right here is the CPU usage, and it'll blink through those different colors. So if it blinks yellow, it lets you know that there's a heavier load on it currently. It can actually hold yellow or hold orange or hold red, and those different levels just let you know kind of the health of that of the load, or if it's the channel, the 2 gig or the 5 gig, it lets you know the congestion of the channel. So up here it's holding red. These APs I believe are actually unplugged currently, but if it's holding red down here, it's something that we might want to take a look at and make a change to the channel. It also lets you see the upload and download, as well as the total load. One thing to note on that is because our cloud controller is actually built into the AP itself, you don't need to purchase an additional piece of hardware there to be able to use the cloud. There is more of a load on the AP itself. So we wanted to allow users to monitor that. So that's one reason for that being there. Right here, it lets you know the total number of devices on the AP. This is the version, and so this goes back to this note right here, letting us know that we have some devices out of date. These ones are running an older firmware, and so if we chose to, we could update that right here by clicking this up arrow. Another thing, I mentioned colors over here being kind of a quick way to diagnose what's going on. Colors over here are another interesting concept. So we've decided to use colors to highlight SSIDs. So as a network admin, when you're hopping on, rather than having to click through and pull up cards or things like that, we wanted users to be able to just really quickly at a glance see which APs were broadcasting which SSIDs. So right here, you can see this red is being broadcast from these 4 APs right here. And this is our security system, peak alarm. So as a network admin, you can just hop on and you can confirm really quickly, yep, okay, these APs are broadcasting the SSID that they need to. And you can assign each SSID its own color. So that way you're really quickly able to track which SSIDs are being broadcast and from where. This traffic over here, let's go ahead and highlight this this AP right here. This lets you see the download rates, the upload rates, and as well, another thing to note here is the DPI stats. You don't actually need an Alta router or an Alta switch or anything like that to have access to these DPI stats. That DPI engine is built into the AP itself again. And so that's just another way that you can get this information without any additional hardware purchases. Really quickly over here, this delete button, that's essentially a factory reset. So if you did need to move the device to a different site, all you'd have to do is just hit that button, and then you'd be able to move it to a different site without any issues. We'll go ahead now and we'll hop into some APs and we'll pull up these cards. One nice thing is you can actually move the cards, so we can bring them here front and center. The first thing we'll do is we'll do a quick scan over here on the left, and we'll do a full scan on the right. And when we do that scan, it doesn't actually bring down the network. So you can see that there's no interruption. And so as a network admin, that's another nice thing is if you're needing to make some changes or just you run a scan during the workday, you're able to do that without disrupting people's work. When you do that scan, the scan's pretty quick, and it'll tell you the average RF utilization, as well as the total number of interferes right here, 32. And that's this purple arrow you can see, and it'll list out the top 10 for you right here. And so this will help you if you need to maybe make some changes to the channel, you can select a different channel here manually for both 2 gig and for 5 gig. When we come over here to the settings, you can set the automatically right here, DHCP is chosen. If you prefer, you can change it over here to static. When you type in your static IP address, people have been known to make mistakes on that from time to time. I think that's something that happens to everybody. And so we have a unique feature here called fallback upon failure. And what that does is, let's say you're typing in an IP address and you mistype it for some reason, or if something else happens, this fallback upon failure is enabled. The AP will revert back automatically to its last known working state, which can oftentimes save you as an installer a trip out to that site. So oftentimes with other vendors, you have to go out and you have to pull down the AP, you have to do a hard reset. And if that job's 35, 45 minutes away, you're going there, you're doing 5 minutes worth of work, and then you're going back to another site. So it can be a big chunk of time needed to go out and fix these issues, where fallback upon failure can just fix them automatically for you. Always on is another unique feature, and this is selectable per AP as well. But if you have a network outage, for example, we had an issue several months back at the office where the fiber line out in front of the building was cut. And so the network, for most of the APs, we want those to stop broadcasting if there's an issue. That way, it'll free up devices to go look for another network to use. But maybe the network admin, they want the AP by their office to continue broadcasting so that they're able to use that to see if it's an issue with the local network, or is that from the fiber out in the road. So this is another feature that can be really helpful for those network admins. And like I said, you can toggle it per AP. So you could select only the AP that's closest to that network admin's office. You're also able here to change the LED color. We have white, blue, and then also off. You can also assign VLANs here as well. For the Wi-Fi settings here, you can change the channel as well, and you can limit bandwidth. You can select 20 or 40, and then you can also assign colors. While we're on this, we'll also pop into a switch really quickly.
Real quick,
I'll take,
are you doing that?
yeah, Don, go ahead.
We had one question come in as well through
Oh,
the chat.
great.
I thought we'd just address it real quickly. So Hank was asking if the firmware updates are mandatory. So the answer, Hank, is by default, we do have kind of automatic updates enabled, but you can opt out of them if you'd prefer to, control updates yourself. And we can show you here in a second where to go to do that. So to answer your question, it's not, it can be within your control as well. But we do try and make note, as Philip already mentioned, if you do have products that are out of date, right, or not updated to the latest firmware, we'll put notes throughout just to make sure that you as an admin are aware of the fact that something has not been updated.
Okay, clear. Thanks.
Thanks, Don. One thing too, I want to just hit on really quickly on that. I know Don brought up the forum earlier. If you go into the forum and look at the AP and the switch section, you'll be able to see just how quickly our team is responding to any issues that do arise. And so most of the time, customers are concerned about software updates because they think that, maybe one thing will get fixed and two things will get broken, like the classic hopscotch analogy. And I think with some vendors, that's been kind of there's been a pattern there, and that's why that concern is there. If you do look at our forum, you can see we're very quick to fix any issues that arise. I know we had one issue a little while ago, and I want to say it was about 20 minutes from the time that the customer emailed, let us know, it was passed on to our CTO, and the update was fixed or was pushed out. So very, very quick. We want to definitely be able to respond quickly to anything that arises, but definitely to Don's point, you can opt out if that's your preference, and we can show you where to do that. So here's our 24 port switch. If you highlight the port, it'll show you the PoE voltage as well as the actual consumption of it. And you're also able to power cycle that port here from this window. You can pull up the legend, and that will allow you to set different colors, set the modes. You can assign the VLAN here as well, and you monitor the temperature of the actual switch itself. Let's go into settings really quickly. We can set the network type right here, assign the VLAN. We also have that same fallback upon failure feature for switches, not just the APs. You can change the LED, change the link lights here. You can enable or disable it, as well as add a radius if you need to. Coming back to ports, if you click a port, it'll pull up another card. This is where you can name the port. You can assign the color group here. And it's very customizable, allowing for a lot of different options. You can rate limit right here, loop detections enabled. And then if you want to, you can come into settings. Yeah, so there's a lot of options for the switches as well. One thing that we did actually push out recently is IGMP snooping. And so that's a feature that's been requested a lot, and we made sure that we push that out. And so there are a lot of AV guys that have been really excited about that. We'll come over here now to the devices window. And so this will give you a list of all the devices that are currently on the network. And it's a lot of similar information to what was on the previous slide, where there's, IP address. This will show you the make. It'll also show you, sorry, I'm just pulling my window over. I'll show you the Wi-Fi version right here. So Wi-Fi 4, a lot of these devices are still Wi-Fi 4, upload and download rate. And then we'll pull up a card as well for these. And a lot of the permissions are device-based as well. So we'll get to network type here in a bit, but if you log in with, accidentally a guest password, you can automatically switch somebody here over to standard or small, or you can switch them to an IoT network only. And we'll get into those network types soon, but you can change all this by device. You can assign a VLAN by device. You can rate limit by device. You can bypass the hotspot as well. If it's an employee at like a cafe or something, you can bypass the Wi-Fi scheduler as well as the content filter. There's a lot of options on a per device basis as well. Coming into the settings, let's go to the content filter first. You can block here by domain. We have a very granular filter, in that if a website has shared, IP addresses, like for example, Google with Gmail and YouTube, if they've shared IP addresses in the past, sometimes when you type in YouTube, for example, it'll block Gmail as well. Ours makes sure not to do that. So, if you want to block YouTube at work or TikTok at home, you're able to do that right here. One unique thing about the block applications here is Red will note that it's an actual single application. Like if you want to block Amazon's AWS or Amazon Video, but if we scroll through and you see a blue dot, you like chat here, for example, that'll actually block an entire suite or type of application. So this blue one will actually block all chat. If we come over here to users, this is where you can invite a user. And you can also assign notifications here as well. So if there is a notification, who does that go to? Here you can choose that it'll go to specific people. The system here is where you choose AP color again. And then also, I believe it was Hank that asked, this is where you can enable or disable the automatic device updates as well. So this just lets you, opt out of that if you prefer to. The time zone here, this is where you would set that for the Wi-Fi scheduler. And then if you have need for SSH keys, this is where you would do that as well. So now we'll go into the actual site. And this is something that we're really excited to show you today. And this is something that's actually patent pending, something that is unique to Alta. And we call this Alta Pass. Some of you may have seen an email that WiMood or Krein or Julian sent out about Alta Pass. And this is something that we feel like really sets our solution apart and is something that contributes to how easy it is to use. When you're using an Alta, we suggest that you use a single SSID. So here, for example, our Wi-Fi network name at our headquarters is SoundVision. We have just a single SSID being broadcast. And with that, you use a different password to log in. So for example, we have these pre-configured network types. We have 5 of them. Standard, which is your standard network that you would use, whether at a home or a small business. Large would be if you have hundreds to thousands of Wi-Fi devices, like maybe a stadium or a concert venue or something like that. IoT is restricted to internet access only, or for IoT devices only. Internet is internet only. And then guest is a combo of IoT as well as internet. IoT in case somebody needs to print something or have access to that, and then internet access. So if we want to, for example, at our headquarters, we have all of our employees log on with this standard password, then we can give our guests a different password. And based on the password that they enter, again, their permission is limited. And so this is something that saves a ton of time for installers. We know that you're running from job to job, and there's oftentimes, especially with an IoT device network, there's a lot of time that goes into setting up VLANs and all of that. And so we've taken a lot of that work out for you by having these pre-configured network types. So you're at a job and you need to set up an IoT network. You simply just click IoT, type in your new password, and then for all of your IoT devices, when you log in to SoundVision, the same SSID, you just use that IoT device password. And it really cleans up the topography of the network. It also limits the number of SSIDs being broadcast, so it cleans up the RF environment as well. And then it just makes it really, really easy for you guys to set up these products. One other thing to note here is we do actually offer the ability to upload a CSV as well. So we've had some projects here in the US, for example. We had an MDU project, so a multi-dwelling unit for college dorms. This has been a really awesome thing for those folks who are working on MDU projects. There's one at the University of Notre Dame here in the US where they had 68 individual apartments, and throughout the entire entire building, they had 72 APs. So they put 1 AP per room. And then they had 4 extras that were in, like shared common room type areas. But for each of those 68 rooms, they set up their own standard network and then had a different password. And then based on if that person chose to have just kind of the standard Wi-Fi offering, or if they chose to upgrade to a faster Wi-Fi, the person who's doing the project was able to either limit their upload download rate or increase their upload download rate. You know, if there may be a gamer and needed a bit extra, they could pay a little bit more for that. But this makes it super simple to set up projects like that, and you're able to upload a CSV of the network type as well as the password, so that it makes it really easy there if you have a larger project. You know, maybe, you know, like I said, 68 APs, or we have another project going in that's 254 APs in a hotel. This would also allow them to upload like that. If you do want to use a radius server, you're able to do that here as well. And then if you do prefer to have an open network for some reason, that's an option also. But typically this is what we suggest, and this is something that people have really enjoyed using. If we come down to our advanced settings, fast roaming is enabled by default. You are able to toggle that off. The Wi-Fi that you can limit right here, the upload and download rate, like I mentioned. And so this is where they'd have the ability to upsell in those MDU type projects. And then the Wi-Fi scheduler is interesting how we do it. This is also something that's patented. This has a lot of applications for, you know, either businesses or for homes. Let's say at home, for example, you want to turn the Wi-Fi off at 7 or maybe 9 p.m. Your kids go to bed at 9, or a business, you know, 6 p.m. The workers should be out of the office. But if there's an issue where somebody has to, you know, do a school project late, they're actually able to request access to the network, and that push notification would go, you know, either to the boss or to the network admin, or in a home it would go to the parent, and they're able to either approve or, you know, reject that request for more time. And the way that we do that is our APs continue to broadcast the SSID even after the Wi-Fi scheduler is off. And that has a lot of advantages. And the number one advantage is if you have any IoT devices connected to that network, like maybe you have an alarm system or different devices around the house, you want those to continue working even when the Wi-Fi scheduler, when the Wi-Fi is off. So by continuing to broadcast the SSID, that enables you to not have to set up another SSID and start managing multiple SSIDs throughout the home. So it really, again, cleans up the RF environment in the home. Here, you can also toggle on or off the ability to request access during the downtime. Over here, let's turn that off. Over here is hotspot. So you're able to do an external hotspot like for a hotel, and this is where you would bring up the authorization secret as well as the redirect. If you prefer to do a local hotspot, you can put in your logo here. Like if you're doing a cafe, for example, you could put in the cafe logo. Welcome to the cafe. You're able to populate terms of service here as well. So if you know, if they don't want to come up with their own, we have these here automatically for them. They're able to put in a password here and a final landing page. So for that cafe, for example, if they want to redirect everybody directly to their menu, you know, they can throw that right there. You're also able to put airtime efficiency down here. And then if you have any other, you know, hide SSID, if you prefer, we can turn that on. IGMP proxy. Yeah, so there's a lot. It's very customizable. But again, I think that one of the things we really want to focus on is just how easy the AltaPass is to use for you to set up as an actual installer. But then also as a user, how simple it is when you just have a single SSID. I think we can all relate to having guests over to the house and having to search for our complicated Wi-Fi password in a cupboard or somewhere. So with this, you're able to just have a nice, simple guest password that you can share with people without giving them full access to your network. So a lot of advantages, super easy to use. And we're happy that we're able to share it with you today. We wanted to leave the last couple minutes open for Q&A. If you have any specific questions about the controller, we can dive into those right now. It looks like there maybe have been a few questions in the chat.
Yeah, I can, Philip. So yeah, we got one from Gert, who's asking if we have basically Alta Pass available on the switch at the switch port level.
Mhm.
So for example, he was asking if we could link a Wi-Fi password to a specific VLAN so that it can be set on a switch port. I don't think that's available now. That is something I believe that's on our roadmap. And I was just when I saw that come in, I was just messaging our CTO to see if I could get a better feel for that as far as when that could be available in the future. So if I get an answer back before we close the session, I'll let you guys know on that one. But that's a really good question. And hopefully I'll have a more specific answer for you here soon.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, are there other questions that you guys have on anything that has been shared about Alta Pass or any other features or company or anything else?
I have one question after initial installation. Do you have an option for an auto channel selection at first? It would take care of the different channels which are used by the different APs.
Good question. I can take that one, Philip, if you want.
Sure.
So as of this point, no, but that is something that's for sure in our roadmap. We're actively planning on developing that, and I believe that's already in the works to where we will have an auto channel selection. Well, actually, sorry, I should maybe clarify that a little bit. If there is an auto channel selection right now, but I think you're talking about more as like, is it continually scanning the environment and selecting
yeah, well, both. These are of course two different things. The option you were referring to is to take into account any external Wi-Fi signals
right.
to scan them, and they probably will be in need of an additional radio in order not to disturb the current customers if you want to continuously scan the environment.
Right. Yeah. So the way that works right now, when you first plug in an access point and get it online, right? The default is to do an auto channel selection. So it'll do an initial scan of the environment, right, and then select a channel for it to be on. That'll then happen if you have it on auto channel selection. That'll happen anytime there's a power cycle, right? That it'll then do another scan and identify a specific channel. But we are working on a feature to where there would be an option to have kind of a continual scan or ever so often, right? And have have an access point kind of optimized for as the environment changes. So that's something that'll be coming, but is not available now at the moment.
Okay, thanks.
There are some more questions in the chat, Dylan.
Okay, yep, there might be some others that we missed as well. Oh yeah, so Tom is asking, do you have any plans regarding SFP plus only switches and a failover redundancy protocols such as VRRP? So as far as SFP plus, right? So our just to clarify, our 24 port switch does support SFP plus. So the two ports are the two SFP ports on there are SFP plus and support up to 10 gigabit. I would imagine that our 48 port will as well, and there may be even more of those. But yeah, as of right now, our 16 port and our 8 port switch do not have SFP plus. Our 16 port has SFP. 8 port, of course, does not have either of those options at the moment. As far as failover redundancy protocols such as VRRP, that one I'll have to check with our team on, unless Philip, you happen to know that one.
I'm not sure on that one. Really quick thing to note, Dylan mentioned the 48 port. We are looking at doing 4 SFP plus ports on the 48 port switch. We want to make sure, obviously, that's going to be a different type of user to, an 816, possibly even 24. So for those types of installs, we want to make sure there's plenty of SFP plus ports. So yeah, that one will have at least 4. But yeah, we'll have to check on the VRRP.
So, and I also did get a clarification, or I think an answer for the previous question about, and this is actually maybe asking for a clarification as well, and see if this is what you guys were looking for. But the response I got back is if the use case is, like a PC being hardwired to a network switch and then needing to enter, a password that then can be assigned to a VLAN. If that's what you were looking for, then that is something that we support now. Users can have like a unique VLAN via Wi-Fi and then have our network switches honor or recognize that VLAN. So I don't know, Gert, I know you asked that question previously. I don't know if that's what you were looking for. If not, maybe you could clarify a little bit more.
Well, yeah, of course, you can always set up a different SSID specifically for that use case. But it would just be easier if you say, for example, there is a device connected to your television, some kind of media player that you rather want just on the IoT network, that you would be just able to join it. Now, I understand that it's quite difficult or something else entirely, because then you're working with access control lists on your switch and everything. Yeah, I see that there are other possibilities to get that sorted, but it would just be easier if we could just say, oh, but this specific port, it's for the IoT network in some way.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying on that. I'll see if I can get further clarification. I don't think, like I said, that's something at the moment we support, but I'll try and find out if it's on our roadmap and get you a response either now, here before we close, or if not after. In fact, Phil, do you mind taking the other questions while I
sure.
Ask?
Yeah, of course. Regarding the log, I think that's a fantastic idea, actually. I don't think that we don't currently support that, and I'm not sure where that is on the roadmap, to be totally honest with you. But that's something that we can definitely bring up. I think it's a great idea. Regarding the multi-gig network port, that is coming, and it's just a function of cost, honestly. So when we're launching with our initial APs, we have the AP6 and AP6 Pro. We really wanted to come to market with APs that were, priced really competitively, and adding in those different ports increases the cost on those. So that's definitely something that we want to come out with and will come out with. We actually do have plans to come out with one as well. But for the initial AP offerings, we wanted to do the 80-85+% use case scenario APs. So we released the APs with a single RJ45, but definitely multi-gig 2.5 gig ports are coming. Regarding the auto channel, I'd honestly have to ask Jeff, our CTO, that as well on the Uni 3 band. That can be something that we take note of and get back to the WiMood team, and they can reach out to you. Anton, thanks for the question.
Yeah, Phil, do you mind also reading the question? Sorry, just since we're recording
Sure.
this.
Yeah.
Awesome, thanks.
So the question was, auto channel will select also the Unit 3 band. Can we disable that? So that's something that we can definitely get back to you on.
I can provide a little bit of clarity on that as well. So that's actually some feedback we received recently from some customers, maybe even yourself there in the Netherlands. That I know in the Netherlands, the Benelux region, the Uni 3 band has some restrictions on it, and so that can affect like the range of the access point. And so we're talking with our team about maybe avoiding those channels specifically in the Benelux region to avoid those types of issues. In the future, we will have a feature that allows you to select which channels you don't want, to be considered, right? To, either an auto section or altogether, right? To kind of disable basically certain channels. And so that's coming in the near future. I don't have an exact timeline for that, but it is on our roadmap. But we're also hopefully sooner we'll have a solution in the Benelux region, maybe just to avoid the Uni 3 channels altogether. Did we address all the questions that came in the chat, Philip? Or there?
In the chat, yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? All right. Well, if no other questions, we just want to say thank you again for taking some time out of your Monday. Again, we recognize that as installers, you're very busy, so we do appreciate that. If you do have any questions that arise in the future, definitely feel free to reach out to the WiMood team. Like Dallin said, they're kind of your first line of defense if you have any questions, but certainly feel free also to reach out to us. You can head to alta.inc and send in any emails that you have. You're also able to use the chat feature as well. Or if you prefer to give us a call, feel free to do that too. We're here to answer any questions that you have, and hopefully you can reach out to WiMood as well regarding the launch pack that Dallin mentioned for the 2 APs and the switch that they're currently offering. But with that, we appreciate you coming out today and thank you for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dylan en Philip.
Ja, iedereen hartelijk bedankt voor het aanwezig zijn. Ook voor technische vragen kunnen jullie natuurlijk altijd ons bellen met betrekking tot Alta. En denken we graag met jullie mee, ook in de mogelijkheden met bepaalde projecten. Of als je gewoon even twijfelt van welke AP kunnen we nou het beste inzetten, dan denken we ook gewoon graag mee natuurlijk. En ja, zoals Dylan al zei, we hebben nu de launch packs ook op de website staan. Dus mocht je er nog weer meer over willen weten, mail gerust even of bel. En een mail kan ook natuurlijk, of bestel ze gewoon via de website. En we hopen graag meer met jullie te doen en met Alta Labs.
No. Thank you.
Bedankt.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bedankt allemaal.
Bedankt allemaal, tot ziens.
Wel, tot ziens.
Ja, nog helemaal uit, hè?